Question 5. It's actually the fourth question in the test, but let's call it 5 to keep things simple here. Show how to solve the equation. Square root of 2x plus 1 minus 4 equals -1. So we're trying to get x by itself here. That's how we're going to solve this. Get x by itself to figure out what that is. So let's start with our inverse operation. First thing I need to do is move this -4 over there with the -1. And how can I cancel out -4? I'm going to use my inverse operation. If they say -4, I'm going to say +4. I'll use purple for my inverse operation. Let's add 4 here to cancel out that -4. But if I do something to one side, I got to do it to the other. Added 4 to both sides. So now what we've got here is we've got the square root. I'm going to write it right over here. The square root of 2x plus 1 equals -1 plus 4 is going to be +3. Let me scoot this over a little bit here. I need some room to work. +3. We added 4 to -1. We got +3. Okay, now I've got this. I've got the 2x plus 1. It's stuck together. It's all here together underneath that square root. So I need to think about what's the opposite of a square root. Well, up here previously, when we had something that was a square, we took a square root to get rid of that power of 2. And those are the opposite of each other. A square is the opposite of a square root. So since this is underneath that radical, that square root, I'm just going to raise it all to the power of 2. I'm going to just raise this to the power of 2. And it's going to get rid of my radical. I'm going to get 2x plus 1 out from underneath the hat. Here we go. We got 2x plus 1. He's walking free on the streets now. But look, if we did something to one side, we've got to make sure we do it to the other. Okay, let's keep it all even. We squared everything on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Let's square everything on the right-hand side of the equal sign. 3 to the power of 2 is 9. 3 times 3 equals 9. Here we go. Now this is looking a little more familiar to you probably. You've seen this before. We got 2 more moves here to get x by itself. First, we're going to have to get rid of the 1. Get that 1 over there with the 9. How can we cancel out +1? We're going to do the opposite. We're going to say -1. -1 over here on the left, -1 on the right. We're only going to have one solution here. Okay? Up at the top, when we take a square root of something, we ended up with the plus or minus, right? We make it a fancy hat when we gave that -16 a hat. But in math, when mathematicians decided, they came together and decided, hey, if we call something a square root of something, let's just consider it the positive square root, right? You'll notice there's no plus or minus out front here. This is just the positive square root of 2x plus 1. So good news is we're only going to have one solution here. So I kick that -1 over there across my equals sign, and now I ended up with 2x equals 8. 9 minus 1 is 8. I got 2x. How do I get x by itself? I'm going to do my inverse operation. I'm going to divide by 2 to cancel out that 2 times the x up there. And if I do something to one side, I got to do it to the other. Guess what? X equals 4. That's all we got to do. There we go. There's our final answer right there. X equals 4. Do you know what? I cut this out of the test. I don't think I'm going to even ask you about this. Let's skip this part, cool? Just in case you're watching this, you know what's going on here? We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. And you end up with the square root of 2x plus 1 equals -4. And like I just said earlier, mathematicians went ahead and decided, hey, if we got a square root, let's just call it the positive square root. If we want the positive and the negative square root, we'll put the plus or minus out front. So this is not true. There's nothing, the square root of something is not a negative number. And that's all that question is. This is part B. But I don't think that's worth all of our time and brain power for you guys to remember that simple little trick right there. I'm not going to penalize you for it on the test if you can't explain that. So that's why I took B off the test. So it's just going to look like 5A pretty much on the test right there. Just remember, if you see a square root, raise it to the power 2 to get everything out from under the radical, and that'll be your inverse operation. You're trying to get x by itself.